Hey guys, and welcome to another Perfumery Basics video where we're going to take a look at 3 materials and I'll sniff, review them and tell you my thoughts as well as how you should use these in your perfume blends. Now the first material we're going to take a look at today is Amber Xtreme from IFF. Now Amber Xtreme is a very personal favorite of mine. If anyone follows this channel, you'll know that I love amber and amber scents. So Amber Xtreme from IFF is definitely a base to middle note. It's 170 hours on a paper strip, so technically it is a middle note, but this thing is so strong and diffusive. The way that you use this in your blends, its effects are very noticeable all the way from the top notes to the very bottom of the base notes. So, but as far as the scent profile, a lot of people get confused with ambers. Now this is not your typical aquatic ambergris where it's kind of like aquatic and sweet amber. This is more of your dry oriental amber, which if anyone's familiar with that scent profile, it's kind of balsamic, woody, a little bit resinous, labdanum kind of amber. So this is their take on a very strong, almost aldehydic like version of amber. So it's super dry, it's super ambery, and it is super diffusive. Like I said, you need to be very careful when dosing this in your perfume blends because it's so strong. So the way that I use Amber Xtreme, you could almost use it in any kind of perfume composition, really. I personally always use it where there's an amber accord, or if it's a warmer type of winter or fall fragrance. But you can, use these in any fragrance composition. Just be aware that how you dose this is going to be very important. So as far as dilution on Amber Xtreme, I dilute this all the way down to 1%. I do treat it like an aldehyde, but although most aldehydes are noticeable more in the top to middle, this one is noticeable top, middle to base, especially all the way through the dry down. Now I do dilute this down to 1%. So as far as usage in your perfume concentrate, you would probably not want to go any higher than 0.5% of Amber Xtreme in your perfume concentrate. So that equates to about 5 parts per thousand in your perfume concentrate. Now, you can go higher if you want, but what I've noticed when you go higher than 5 parts per thousand in your formula, it really takes over the blend, and it's a very strong, diffusive, and dry amber note, so it can get out of hand if you go past 5 parts per thousand. Me, personally, I safely like to use this roughly at about 2 to 3 parts per thousand in my perfume formula, but they say you can go up to 0.5%. So yeah, so just remember, dilute this, pre-dilute it down to 1% before you use it in any of your blends or your trial blends. And then if you're gonna use it neat, it's gonna be much larger perfume batches. So that's it for Amber Xtreme, one of my personal favorites. Okay, so the next one we're gonna look at is Benzoin Ollifac from IFF. And what this is, this became a real personal favorite of mine just recently because I love dealing with amber, kind of amber accords, amber notes, and everyone knows if you're making an amber accord, you need benzoin in there. But if you're using real benzoin, it is so sticky, it's so syrupy, and if you're trying to get it through a pipette, it's a mess and it gets gunked up and it's a real pain in the ass to use unless you're using it pre-diluted. So IFF made a synthetic rendition of Benzoin Ollifac is what they're calling it, and it's their version of it's a more easier to use benzoin. So it is definitely a base note. It's 400 hours on a paper strip. So, but what I did one day is I took this and I compared it to real benzoin resin, like a benzoin absolute. I diluted both down to about 50% and I just compared them side by side. And they are probably about 90 to 95% close in scent. So if you're worried about changing your scent profile or composition by switching from real benzoin to Benzoin Ollifac, don't be too discouraged because this is really close. So it is definitely a sweet, kind of semi-spicy, definitely resinous smelling, and definitely balsamic. But the big difference between the Benzoin Ollifac and real Benzoin Absolute is the IFF version is a little bit more vanillic in my nose. I smell it as a little bit more sweeter, a little bit more vanillic than real benzoin, which is fine. I personally like a little bit more sweeter benzoin, so this one, you know, fits the bill perfectly for me. Now, as far as usage, I usually dilute this down to about 50%. I pre-dilute it 50% before I start using it in some of my trial blends. You don't really have to. You can still use it neat, but in perfumery, benzoin typically isn't overdosed. So if you pre-dilute this down to 50%, you can play with it a little bit more easier, in my opinion. You can probably use this safely up to about 5% in your perfume concentrate total. So you're looking at about 50 parts per thousand. I would say average use of benzoin in an overall perfume concentrate is about 20 parts per thousand, but you can go up to 50 depending on what your use of benzoin is. So again, this is a great material. I love this right here. This is probably going to replace my real benzoin absolutes and resins. Real super easy to work with. Cleaning pipettes using this is a breeze, and that's why I love it. Okay, so this last one we're gonna take a look at is one that a lot of people don't talk about often, and it's probably sought after a lot, and it's called Chocovan by Givaudan. And this is a definite chocolate note. So if you're into gourmand fragrances, and if you're trying to create something with a very specific sweet chocolatey note, more towards milk chocolate, like the brown milk chocolate, look no further than Chocovan by Givaudan. This is a dead ringer of this nice sweet milk chocolate. Like when I smell this, it reminds me of just getting like a Hershey's chocolate bar and then like melting it down into a pan. And if you just dip the paper strip in that, you get Chocovan. It is so sickeningly sweet and realistic to real milk chocolate. It just boggles my mind. So it is definitely a middle note. It's about 150 hours on a paper strip. And in my opinion, this is the best chocolate note you can get. There's so many different chocolate notes out there. You can get pre-blended chocolate accords made by certain companies. You can get cocoa essence or cocoa resins, cocoa absolutes, but just get Chocovan. I mean, this does it for me. This just does it. It's creamy, syrupy, warm milk chocolate. Now the funny thing is when I did my research before buying it, I was a little worried because a lot of the written descriptions on this was they say it smells more of like the powdered chocolate that you would find in like Nestle's Quick, like the powdered form of it before you actually mixed it with water or milk. To me, no way. This doesn't smell like powdery anything. This is milk chocolate all the way, just sweet and syrupy. Now here's the thing though. It's strong. It's real strong. Don't let the scent fool you. It's so addicting when you smell it. You're gonna want to use a lot of it in your perfumes, but don't, because it's so strong. I have this pre-diluted down to 10%. Anything more than that in my perfume just is sickeningly sweet chocolate all through and through. So it's hard to say how much you would want to use this in your total perfume concentration because this is such a sweet gourmand fragrance. It really depends on how much chocolate you want in your perfume. You can use it easily in small, low doses just to give it a slight sweetness, a slight gourmand. But if you're full on going for a feminine, like chocolate smelling perfume, yeah, you can go up to probably, I would say 5% of your concentrate, which in my opinion is probably still too much, but not to say you couldn't. But before you use Chocovan, pre-dilute it down to 10% before you use it in your small trial blends, because this thing will get out of control really fast. The scent profile will trick you. On paper it smells strong, but one drop of this at 10% in your perfume blend, it gets pretty chocolatey. Okay, so that was it. Another 3 materials sniffed and reviewed. So if you've tried these materials in your blends in the past, go ahead, leave comments below. Let us all know how you're using these materials, if you like them, dislike them, and if you like the style of video. Again, drop a comment below. Give me some ideas of what other materials you want me to review and kind of guide you through. With that being said, until next time.